What is up, everybody? Welcome to now. I'm going to have a really in-depth video right now. The thing is, I got asked to demonstrate how I put the hair up in this bun, and I'm going to make a more interesting video, and I'm going to talk about all sorts of stuff regarding the hair, like the brain, what the hair does, hair on the body, the eyebrows, so much stuff, combing the hair, shaving the hair, all sorts of stuff. Now, and I'm also going to demonstrate on how to bring it up into this knot. Now, the hair is interesting, right? I used to own gyms, and I used to have to teach people to run. I think every other week I had a running class for years. And I always used to say, like, hey, who in here has been taught how to run? And I would say 1 out of maybe 50 people would raise their hand over the course of thousands of people. 1 out of every 50 people would raise their hand. And it would be interesting because running is something that everybody kind of thinks they know how to do, but because of shoes and seats and toilets and beds and all these things that make us a little bit inefficient humans, our running it was not proper. People don't inherently know how to run because we're handicapped from the beginning because we're put in the shoes. Hair is one of those other things. We all have hair. We think we know how to use it, and it's just kind of there. But like, this is actually very important. This is covering our head. Okay, there's very important features to this thing. This is technology. And I've had hair long several times in my life. Right now is one of those times. I spent the last 10 years before I grew it out this time when I owned several businesses with short hair. But before that, I had my hair long. That's how I attained those businesses, how I created those businesses. And then I had really long hair when I was a kid. So, hair. First of all, we need to realize what the hair is made of, what type of cells it is, all right? A lot of times we are taught that skin, things like skin, we always get told that the skin is dead, right? That the upper layer or the outer layer of the epidermis is dead. Well, that's cool and all, but like if that's all we're going to get taught about the skin is that it's a protective layer and then the stuff we touch is actually dead, it doesn't really serve us to know what it is. And the truth is, when we are a little embryo, right after fertilization in the womb, and there's all these cells that are determining which type of cells they're going to turn into. Some turn into muscle and bone, some turn into organs and our digestive system. And there's another group of cells, the ectoderm layer, and they turn into, so there's this bundle of cells that turn into our nerves and our skin and our hair. So we need to think about our skin and our hair as like the outside electrical conduits and our nerves as the internal electrical conduits. Like our nerves are the internal wires and our hair are our external wires, and our skin is kind of just like this sheath that's capable of receiving electricity. And where does this electricity come from? The energy comes from the sun. Okay? Now, on our head, there's these things called solar centers. And that's the point where the sun is going to be entering into our body. Now, this knot I wear on top of my head is called a rishi knot. And the rishi is actually a Vedic term, and it means it's these people that were masters, they're great seers, they were sages, and they used to wear their hair up in what became known as a rishi knot, and they had ascended abilities. So this knot is named after these masters, and these masters have the ascended abilities, and one of the tools these masters use to either attain or maintain their ascendant abilities was their hair. So they never actually cut their hair, and there's actually many cultures today that don't cut their hair. First thing we want to do is bring the hair up. I'm actually going to show 3 different versions of this. We're going to bring the hair up, and we're going to just grab it with one hand. And for those of you who are athletic or move a lot, you're going to want to use 2 hair bands. So the first one goes on here, and some people actually like to bring it really low. And so I don't really necessarily have to do this, but I'm just going to show like moving it down lower. And we want to actually use, these are really old. They last forever. These I've had for months, but these will last you a year. They're bigger, thicker hair bands. They're not the tiny ones. Those ones will crimp your hair and break your hair. It's actually not good for the transmission of cosmic energy. Coil. I'm going to get into why we coil our hair, but it's really important to twist and coil the hair, right? A coil of wires. It's actually what kundo means. Kundalini, coil. So you want to coil the hair, and it'll automatically kind of get into a bun, and we just wrap it tight, and we can bring the second one in, and boom. The men's solar center is right here, over the anterior fontanelle, and that is the soft spot in the babies, all right? So for men, it's right here. Women, we're on the corner or in the back. And if you're somewhere in between man and women or both of them, I'm just guessing, but I would assume you would pick the version of body you are in. So if your body is more male, your solar center is probably here. If your body's more female, it's probably back here. However, if you are both, then you may be able to go anyways. But this is all subtle energy. You probably are going to be able to feel where it's best to keep your hair. And this is actually, there's a lot of important stuff in the brain that needs the energy from the sun. See, there's melanin in the hair, right? There's melanin in our skin also. And that grabs sunlight. It attracts sunlight. And you know, the football players put the black stuff over it. It's because they want the sun to go to the black thing and not into their eyeballs. Well, our skin is dark, and our hair is dark because it wants to attract light to itself, and it's going to bring it into the brain. Vitamin D is a hormone that's synthesized by the body from the sun, and the brain uses more vitamin D than any other organ in the body. What that means is that, you know, vitamin D isn't a vitamin, it's a hormone. And so the body converts light into vitamin D. So we've got all of these wires right here grabbing that light and bringing it into the brain. Inside the brain is also the pineal gland. The pineal gland is highly sensitive to light. And so all of this hair works directly with the brain, especially the pineal gland and the pituitary gland. And there's melanin in the eyes that take the light to the pituitary gland, which is our master hormone. Speaking of eyes, the eyebrows also are not just for protecting water from dripping into our eyes, which is kind of a ridiculous thing these things are also taking in energy. We have sinuses up here. Our forehead is very porous. Let's not put bangs over the forehead. There's no hair on the forehead for a reason. The light comes in and channels through those sinus pores and just the pores in the frontal part of our skull, and it activates the frontal lobe, which is all of our analytical thinking. So if we have bangs over, it actually blocks. And you can Google Genghis Khan, what he used to do when he would conquer territories. He would shave the men's head and make all the women wear bangs, because then they're not smart enough to rise up against him. Many rulers conquered the countries that he conquered, but he figured out how to make the people docile, and bangs was one of those ways. And again, this is all subtle stuff, guys. Like, I haven't had my hair long my entire life, and I knew about these things. Like I said, I created businesses with them. It's powerful stuff, but there's points where it's like, hey, I'd rather just kind of be attractive. And sexual attraction by grooming yourself and changing your body technology is one thing, but then there's also magnetic attraction, electromagnetic attraction that people can't resist, where like your auric frequency is in resonance with their auric frequency and they get filled up by your electromagnetic frequency. As a male, this is actually especially important. Okay, second way, we do the same thing as the first way, but we don't put a band there. So the first time I put a band where my hands are, this time I'm just kind of like twisting and you can just keep on twisting, and you'll notice as you twist, you'll naturally want to twirl it, and as you twirl it, it's just going to kind of wrap along the bottom. And I actually like the messiness of it. You know, I've seen some ladies put like a polyester or plastic donut thing in there, and it actually makes the bun look all perfect. But you know, putting plastic on the head blocks it blocks those rays. Plastic and aluminum does that sort of things. So that's the second way. I've got one more third way that I sometimes do. Okay, let's talk about body hair. So our cells all over our body are searching for instruction. And they're not just getting instruction from the brain. They're getting instruction from all parts of the body on how to regenerate themselves. And we need to think about our DNA and our cells and our body as more of a radio, like a receiver. And there's energy in the ether that it's receiving, right? We wouldn't think that the voices that come from the radio are people inside the radio, right? So our body works the same way. Even our thoughts may as well be received, right? Like we could receive our identity as a person, and we are manifested in this physical form. Well, the hair all over our body is doing the same thing. It's receiving cosmic energy from our sun and even other stars. Yes, we receive energy from other stars, but that's another video. Ever wonder why the North Star is always the North Star? And we're kind of locked to certain stars in our galaxy. The sun's traveling around the galaxy. You know what? The North Star wasn't always the North Star. I digress. But it's a very, very big star. I think it's 1,000,000 times bigger than the sun. So it has cosmic effect on our planet. Anyways, the hair all over our body is reading the field around us, and it's actually transmitting our energy out into our auric field, which extends 30 to 50 feet around us. So if we're shaving our body hair, we are we're confusing our body, and we're confusing what our body's projecting out. So anytime we shave hair, that's what we're doing. Hair is always here for a reason. Okay, last way, we're going to do the same coil. Now, why the coils, right? So, Kundalini, have you guys heard this term? Kundalini refers to, most people refer to the serpent, right? There's a coil of energy at the base of our spine. It's coiled 3.5 times, and if it's activated or woken up or raised up our spine, it can slither up our spine and reach our higher centers, at which point you are Kundalini awakened. And what am I trying to do? All right, 3rd time. Yeah, that's right. You just come out. There's no coiling first. We put the band in, but instead of doing it 2 times, we just use that. We lock it by twisting it, and then we coil. So this Kundalini energy at the base of our spine, it's like the whole reason why people are going to yoga. Yoga isn't about a six-pack and flexibility. Yoga is about clearing the energetic channels in the body, physically and energetically, so that the flow of energy can flow through the body, including this Kundalini energy. And when all of these channels are clear, and then we just wrap it over it. When all these channels are clear and activated, we can have transmission of energy within the body, and also the antennas are all working properly that bring the cosmic force in, and we can have insights. And people do. I mean, this is a regular thing in the crowds I hang out with. Psychic powers, intuition, transcending time and space, levitation. Anyways, so there's a coil at the base of our spine. There's also coil up here, and those two can be looked at as the poles, right? The hair is a pranic. It's bringing in, much like the lungs. We can use the lungs breathwork exercises, anyone, to activate the energy systems in our body. Same thing with the hair. The hair is bringing in the cosmic force into our solar center, and it is giving an equivalent force to pressurize and pump up the kundalini energy from the base of our spine. So that's a lot of rambling about hair, and I'm sure I did not address monks. People always say, well, how come monks shave their head? Well, you know, the tradition of monks, like Genghis Khan used to shave all of the men's heads. And monks are people that have almost, man, it's different back in the day. Like how they started was they were like detesting and like saying like, I don't want to be worldly. I don't even want to be of this body. And they sort of gave up their ticket as a human, and they're transcending the human aspect of themselves, which is why monks can do all these abilities, because the main point was they transcended humanism. And so now we have monks that all shave their head, and it's because originally, I even think they were slaves in the beginning, but I don't want to say that. I think they were slaves in the beginning, forced to do it, and then it's not a powerful thing they're doing. They're almost doing it to get rid of their power and transcend it. It's almost like a death. Like they just get rid of anything. They don't have jobs. They just like, they barely sleep. They do all of these practices to go against themselves almost, so that they transcend above it. So you're welcome to do it that way, or you can just use your technology how it's meant to be used. Also, the hair. So few different sources that are out of this world. 4.5 inches is the minimum to receive cosmic energy, according to Ra, the same Ra that we know of in Egypt, which really wasn't Egypt from our history books. It was like Egypt with the elongated skull people, Egypt. And then there's another stat I know of by Yogi Bhajan that says 3 years. He says the very tips of the hair are the most important part. So if you're cutting them, you're actually ruining your antennas. So going 3 years with uncut hair, at the 3-year point is when your antennas become turned on. And so don't cut your split ends. The whole premise was to oil with almond oil, or you can use different types of oil, but he suggested almond oil to oil the tips of the hair so that the split ends will mend back together. But don't just snip them off, because if you just keep on doing that, they're just going to keep on breaking because you're not taking care of them, snipping, and you're basically getting rid of the antenna power. That is it, everybody. I could have made this a 90-second video, but I made it almost 20 minutes long for you. If you watched it, awesome, appreciate it. Have a good life, and I'm here with you.